One of the questions we often get with Team Wild is how to increase fat loss or regain fat loss once it's stopped when dieting, and often this is down to insulin sensitivity, where the cells in your body stop responding to insulin, the insulin hormone, as they normally do, and essentially this is usually caused down to diet. Think of it like a bouncer in a nightclub. It actually gets to a point where the insulin resistance gets so high that when obviously you eat your food, the insulin goes to carry the nutrients into the cell, and the cell actually refuses access to much of the nutrients. So obviously the cells that you want to have obviously the fats and carbohydrates to be used as energy and so on can't be used, and they obviously get stored as fat. Obviously, to improve the insulin sensitivity, reduce insulin resistance, one of the best ways is to lower or remove carbohydrates from your diet. You can remove them perhaps for a couple of weeks and then slowly reintroduce them and see how you get on. Most people are quite highly responsive to high GI carbs, so when you reintroduce them, perhaps stay away from high GI carbs, anything sweet, any sugars or high sugary items, Haribo and things like that. It goes without saying, perhaps to many, but you can slowly reintroduce things, even maybe avoid starches as well. Another option perhaps is to try carb cycling. Carb cycling is where you can have perhaps 2 or 3 days of low carbs, perhaps sub 50, maybe sub 30 grams of carbs a day. Then on a specific day, back up, increase the carbs, 150, 200, 300, 400 grams, depending on the size of you and obviously your muscle mass. Others equally respond well to low, medium and high days of carbohydrates. Obviously low being perhaps 30, sub 50, medium perhaps 150, 200, 300 depending on your size, and obviously high being 500, 600 grams. Again, depending on your size. Obviously I'm not saying 600 grams will do for everyone, it's not one size fits all, it's something you need to experiment with. And of course on top of that there is supplements that you can have, like chromium in obviously supplement form, and also things like the likes of increasing your essential fatty acids and L-carnitine. And obviously with L-carnitine it actually gets the body to force the fat into cells and be used as energy. So that's a good supplement to use anyway when dieting, but perhaps one you may wish to consider if you don't already use it. Another one commonly got in any supermarket across the land would be the likes of cinnamon. Cinnamon is a great thing reducing insulin resistance, obviously increasing your sensitivity, insulin sensitivity that is. So there's many ways you can actually combat it and perhaps restart that fat loss. And so it's one thing to consider. Your stalling fat loss may not be anything to do with insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity, but it's one thing to consider. So it's an option to look into. So I hope you enjoyed this piece, and if you've got any queries, questions, drop them below. Cheers.